Well, good evening and welcome to Conflict of Interest. I'm Greg Barnes, this is Peter Farris, and tonight we're talking about the federal government's new Pacific Guest Workers Scheme. 2 weeks ago, Agriculture Minister Tony Burke announced that there would be 2,500 seasonal workers from places such as Papua New Guinea, Kiribati and other Pacific islands coming into Australia for 7 out of 12 months and working in horticultural and agricultural industries. It's based on a scheme that was established in New Zealand in 2007. It's based also on a concept which is common in the US and in Europe, and that is to ensure that we have a mobile labour force and that we have people from developing world countries able to come into developed world countries and to work. In fact, remittances from seasonal workers or workers from developed world countries equalled last year around $1 trillion US. It was a bigger form of aid to the developing world than was official aid. In a country like Tonga, for example, in the Pacific, 39% of its GDP is now in the form of foreign remittances. I think the whole idea and the whole concept is simply a reflection of globalisation. Globalisation should mean that people like capital move around the world freely, much more freely than they have been doing so in the past. There's a good deal of hypocrisy in this debate. We see people in Europe and in the US essentially say that they want to kick migrants out. Those very same people often, and certainly in the US, often employ 1 or 2 Mexican or Latino people on their personal staff or in their factory. So it's a reality. Globalisation is a reality. The developing world, we have around about 200 million migrants at the moment, most of them coming from the developing world. That'll go to about 300 million in a decade. And it's a reality of life that countries like Australia with a declining and ageing population will continue to need an increased volume of seasonal workers. Peter.
What about the Aboriginals? Why can't they do it?
I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good idea.
Presumably, the government will fly these people from these places we've never heard of, Kiribati or something.
These are Pacific Islands.
Presumably, the government will pay to fly them in.
Well, these people will be net contributors to GDP.
Well, where will they come from? They're
coming from Papua New Guinea.
Our government will pay. The Australian taxpayer will pay to fly them in, and then fly them around Australia to wherever the jobs might be.
We're going to talk.
How does that work?
We're going to talk to Professor Lesleyanne Hawthorne from Melbourne University.
So even though you support it, you don't know.
Peter. We're going to talk to Professor Lesleyanne. I support the concept. We're going to talk to Professor Lesleyanne Hawthorne from Melbourne University, who will fill us in on some of the detail.
Okay, well, let me put it another way.
The concept is simple. The concept is simple. You've got a skills shortage and you've got a labour shortage. How do you fill it?
Okay.
What's your solution?
We fly Aboriginals around the country.
Well, even if you did that...
How many Aboriginal on the dole? 50,000 or something?
Even if you did that, Peter, do you know what the skills shortage in Australia's agricultural and mining industries is at the moment?
Well, you're only...
Do you know the numbers?
I don't accept your statistics, you know that.
Don't worry about mine.
Them up as you go along.
Don't worry about mine. Do you know what the skills shortage is?
Yeah, I tell you what it is. The numbers that are being brought in, on your word, from the Pacific Islands are 2,500 workers. I think we have something like 50,000 Aboriginals on the dole, sitting down doing nothing for which the taxpayer's paying.
If you listen to farmers, if you listen to the National Farmers Federation, if you listen to various other industries in Australia, you will hear them say, fantastic, we'll take every Aboriginal worker we'll get and we'll still be short.
Well, why aren't we then saying, don't worry about Kiribati, whatever it's called, let's fly Aboriginals around Australia.
He is for real, by the way. This guy is for real.
Let's fly Aboriginals around Australia. So if we've got this shortage you're talking about, we'll fly...
But I don't think anyone's objecting to that.
But it's not being done. Has it ever been proposed?
It's
never been proposed,
in the mining industry in Australia, there are literally hundreds of thousands of Aboriginal people working in that industry.
No, but are we
working in the mining industry? And some of them are being coming in fly-in, fly-out operations into Western Australia and far North Queensland, Northern Territory and South Australia.
Okay, but we certainly still have a very large population of Aboriginals who are unemployed, who are being paid sit-down money. Well, now, why don't we?
But Peter, you can say that about the US, and yet Latinos.
I'm not talking about the US. I'm talking about Australia.
No, because this is part of a. This is a global issue.
No,
this is a global issue.
This is a local issue.
No, it's a global issue.
And what I want to know is why we don't exhaust our possibilities with getting employment.
But we've effectively had in Australia full employment for the past few years.
We don't have full employment amongst the Aboriginals.
Not everybody is in the workforce. That's the first thing. Not everybody is in the workforce. Some Indigenous people are outside of the workforce age. They're either underage or they're beyond 55, 60.
Who are capable of working who are not working.
And a lot of people...
Often not because of their fault.
No, but...
I mean, they're living at whoop whoop. They don't get the opportunity to do the jobs.
But Peter, my view on this is that you draw workers from wherever you want to draw them.
Do we have a government scheme for Aboriginals which is equivalent to what you're supporting?
Of course we do. It's called the CDEP. We've had it for years.
From the Pacific. So they'll fly 2,500 Aboriginals around Australia at the drop of a hat.
We have had...
Is that what they do?
We have had, over many years now...
I just don't believe they do that.
You have a look at the mining industry. It happens.
But the mining industry would be doing that of its own accord.
Have a look, but it happens.
This is a government initiative.
No, the mining industry didn't do it of its own accord. The mining industry did it in partnership with the federal government right through the 1990s and into this century.
Well, why isn't the agricultural industry doing this?
It has been.
In
and it can't meet the demand.
Well, why can't it? Why can't it get the Aboriginals?
Because it's called, let's give you a lesson in Simple Economics 101. It's called supply and demand. Here's how the labour market works, Peter. The labour market works like this. You have a demand for workers and you seek to fill it.
Yes.
When you've exhausted seeking to fill it, you then go offshore. That's the way it works.
What I'm saying is I don't believe, and I've seen no evidence, that we've exhausted filling it with the Aboriginals.
Look, Peter, people should be able to get workers. Hang on. People should be able to get
no Aboriginals.
People should be able to get workers from wherever they see fit. People should be able to. Labor should be able to float around the world.
This is a form of forced labour.
It's a form of forced labour.
Yeah.
Forced labour. No one's telling people. You're the one who says I'm going to put all these Aborigines and tell them that they've got to go and work here and there and everywhere.
If it's good enough,
forced labour. Who's forcing them?
Because they are so short of money. These islanders. They are so short of money. They will do anything to come to Australia.
They don't have to. They don't have to.
It's forced labour, and then they're being regulated here.
Latinos are in the same boat.
I don't think it's going to work.
Latinos are in the same boat. Well, it will work because it works everywhere in the world. The European economy...
And how many of the $2,500 will escape into the mainstream?
Peter, well, so what? So what? What? 500 people?
So if 500 people escape into the mainstream population...
So what happens it's been happening in the US for years.
We're not talking about... Let's talk about Australia. So you find it acceptable?
Absolutely.
If 20%
absolutely
disappear into the population?
Absolutely. It happens. You get that leakage. You get that leakage in every migration program everywhere in the world.
I just think this is a joke. I really do.
Well, Peter, this is called globalisation.
Why are you resisting?
This is called globalisation.
Why are you resisting the proposal that we could do this with Aboriginals?
Did I resist it? I said it was a great idea. I said it was a great idea.
Okay, so why don't we do that first and exhaust that?
Well, I think that's been done. That's the point. We've got to now go to a break. We've got Professor Lesleyanne Hawthorne from Melbourne University who will fill us in on some of the details of the Pacific Guest Worker Program and talk about some of the overseas experience.